Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be checking out Pentatonix's latest cover, their latest Christmas release. As you guys know, Pentatonix is like the group for Christmas music, not even just in the acapella world, but in the world at large. This is O Holy Night. This is super exciting. Guys, I actually had plans, RIP, to release 5 Pentatonix Christmas videos all throughout this week that I'd never seen before. But due to just some late editing and copyrights not clearing in time, I'm not going to be able to release them, and they are meant to be released as a 5-video package. So we're going to have to wait an entire year to see my analysis videos for Carol of the Bells and Sugar Plum Fairy, all these like iconic Pentatonix songs I had somehow missed or hadn't heard in the last like 8 years. So stay tuned, next year that'll be happening, but I wanted to make sure I got this one out, and hopefully this one clears in time, at least so you guys can see it, even if I can't monetize it, but hopefully that's the case. Matt from Pentatonix, as you guys know, is become a friend of mine, and I'll leave the link to the podcast episode with him here. He was actually just in Charlottesville with Pentatonix performing at the huge arena here, and he offered to get me tickets to come watch them, which is really nice of him. But unfortunately, I had a good friend who was also performing elsewhere in the area who I'd already committed to go seeing. So it was a night of too many good things. But I did unfortunately miss the Pentatonix performance at the JPJ in Charlottesville. Anyway, guys, this is my first time hearing their latest Oh Holy Night. I'm super excited. I love this group. I have so much admiration. They're like, the most famous, successful a cappella group of all time. And always fun to analyze them and their spectacular voices. So please do like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and then join my Patreon if at the end of this I have added to your Pentatonix experience. If you have gained appreciation and value for this amazing group, that's my whole goal. So yeah, guys, let's dive into it. Oh Holy Night. This is one of the absolute bangers of Christmas music. It's so good. So let's do it.
Oh, holy night, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
Pentatonix pretty much always has some kind of introduction to their songs that they've really taken the source material from, all versions of Oh Holy Night, and they really, especially during the introductions, that's where I find they'll do something. They'll do like a truly original arrangement of the original at the start of this cover they're doing. And I noticed that when I was doing all these other videos that I wish I could show you guys now, but that was a very common theme for them, was starting off with an introduction that almost can function as like a separate little thing from the rest of the cover. And this is no different. I mean, this is pretty raw, pretty stripped down. I mean, we only have a couple voices happening at one time. And what this does arrangement-wise is it just gives the song a long place to build. We know Pentatonix is going, in most of their covers, especially some epic song like Oh Holy Night, they're probably going to get to a point where they're all belting super high in their maybe head voice for Kirsty and Mitch, and very chest dominant singing for Matt and Scott, and maybe Kevin will be joining in on the singing, I don't know. But there's going to be a big epic moment in this song, and what these introductions do when they're really stripped down is they give us a journey to go on. They give us such a long way to go from where we start to where we get to that climax, and it really feels like you're really along for the ride. And I think Pentatonix's arrangements always do a really wonderful job of that.
Oh, holy night.
I just want to point out one thing. It's like you see them moving around and everything, but because the audio doesn't come from the music video. Now they could have put like room sounds in there just during this introduction, but because they didn't, it's like almost eerily silent watching them move around, but not hearing their footsteps or anything. Right when I was testing the audio before this, and I hit play, and I was like, did I hit play? That's because it's just like 5 seconds of silence right at the start. Anyway, an interesting thing if you're actually watching the music video. Just silent.
Oh, holy night.
I'm talking about the difference in onsets between Scott and Mitch here. Scott uses that vocal fry and kind of flips up from his fry or M0 kind of phonation up to M1 or chest voice. And then Mitch just comes in really smooth, coordinated onset. They're both coming in a very intimate kind of place, but just the vocal fry into chest voice versus the very smooth onset is such a nice contrast, in a very similar vocal range right here at the start.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
So yeah, 3 voices at most. At most we had Scott, Mitch, Matt singing at the same time. Something really nice. This is a great thing you can do. Well, the audio engineering in a mix is the reason why acapella mixes can sound so full with just a few voices is something called panning, where as an audio engineer, you can send parts of the sound, you can send voices further left or right in your ear. So if you're listening right now in this kind of stereoscopic image, which I believe these screen recordings actually do, so I think you guys can hear what I'm hearing. Scott's voice is very much in the middle in these last few seconds, and Mitch is over here on the right. So you hear their voices very clearly, as opposed to if they were both right in the middle, you could still hear 2 voices, but it wouldn't be quite as clear. You couldn't hear quite as much detail in the voices as when they're split apart. Right here. You hear that split.
Long lay the world in sin and never pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth.
Yeah, so this feels like verse 1 of Pentatonix, right? We get the introduction, super raw, super not like our original or what we kind of hear as the standard format of the song. And then first verse, we start to hear a little more of what's considered standard, but of course with their own spin on it. Something interesting I heard arrangement-wise is I think Matt has a suspension in the bass line, and usually you don't get a suspension in the bass line. Usually the bass is very much on like the 1 or the bottom of each chord, and you'll have suspension above them, but you get kind of like an unsettled feeling as these chords are changing, because I think Matt is on... not the root, not even an inversion of the chord. I think he's on a passing tone in the bass line, which is actually somewhat unusual unless the bass line is moving really quickly.
Long lay the world.
So he's on the leading tone, and that is not a diminished 7 chord, which is if you start in a major key, this is in D major, Matt goes to C sharp, which if you were in D major for the C sharp, it would be C sharp diminished, which is obviously not the chord. So what we're actually getting here is a passing tone in the bass line, probably leading down to the 6. But you don't hear that very often. At least, like I said, you don't hear it where it sits there for a minute. Usually the suspension is elsewhere.
Long lay the world in sin.
Now, one other thing about this, why this works is because the bass line here is not particularly low. If he had been down there an octave lower, it would be even more odd and unsettling. But because it's up, this kind of unsettled suspension doesn't really sound like it's a weird bass line because it's high enough. It's close enough with the other voices to where it sounds just like another blended suspended voice. So that's kind of why that works in this case. You feel that suspension, but it doesn't feel wrong. It just feels like a suspension, like you're just waiting for it to resolve. If it were actually that bass line note, it might sound incorrect because it's just rare that would be done. But it sounds actually really nice in this context.
Long lay the world in sin and never pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth.
so much emotion and like this kind of moaning and sliding that Scott does so well. We're already getting that these big emotions we're already feeling, and he's really putting that into his voice, and of course he's putting it into the acting in the music video as well. Arrangement-wise, background for the first part's just ooze, and then of course they open up to singing parts of the text along with Scott.
The soul felt its worth. Oh, a thrill of hope. The weary world rejoices. For yonder breaks a new and glorious morn.
Okay. Yeah, so again, it's like classic starting place for Pentatonix vocal percussion from Kevin. And also in this mix, you'll notice Scott right in the middle being the lead soloist, and all the other voices are panned out to the side. So we hear Scott very clearly, and then in the sides we hear this just beautiful blend of the other voices who are harmonizing with him, or singing a bass line in Matt's case. I've talked about this before. The bass lines for Pentatonix often are not super low. They're often very performable because this is a group that tours around the world, and you've got to make these arrangements so they're very performable live, because on the road you're going to get sick, you're not going to sleep on the van or on the tour bus or whatever, and you've got to be able to sing anything under any conditions essentially. And so even when Avi was in the group and Avi was a lower bass than Matt, they still often their arrangements wouldn't be that low. Like I think the lowest note that had to be sung in chest voice was the B flat at end of Hallelujah. The other stuff you can kind of growl it or something like that, but lowest pure note as far as I know was the B flat in Hallelujah and the B's in the Daft Punk medley, which Avi probably about the very bottom of what he had 24/7 at that time was B flat, B. It's probably a bit lower now. I've talked about this before about how his voice has continued to descend after he left Pentatonix. All to say their arrangements are very performable, live. What you see here is what they do on tour.
Oh, a thrill of hope. The weary world rejoices. For yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. For your knees, oh, hear the angels' voices. Oh, night divine.
Yes.
Oh, night when Christ was born.
Wow. Stop it. So much contrast there. They really, it was getting bigger and then they really brought it back, and now they're probably going to get bigger again. It's another thing they do really well in their arrangements that I know. I noticed so many of these patterns in Pentatonix when I did 5 videos for them back to back to back. I was like, oh, they've got to, it's not like they do the same thing every time, but they do follow a similar formula as far as how they kind of structure their arrangements. Matt comes out of the gate. This is something that's amazing about Matt, is he has the bass range. Now we know Matt's not a super low bass, but he is a bass. Absolutely is a natural bass voice who has, through extensive training, gained really great access to his upper range. And we talk about this in the interview, which I linked earlier. So if you want to hear Matt's take on his own voice, check out that interview. Very much a bass, but has amazing, pure, high, pop vocals. Which is just something really remarkable. But he comes out of the gate high here. You don't expect this to happen for a bass voice.
A new and glorious morn.
So F sharp 4 in pure chest voice is getting way up there for a bass voice. Way up there.
A new and glorious morn. For your knees, oh, hear the angels' voices.
really great at riffing too, like exceptional vocal agility. Another rare thing for a voice, and that gets rarer and rarer. The lower your voice gets, the less likely you are going to have agility. So Matt and I are probably kind of, now he's better at riffing than I am, but similar in that we're basses, but we're not super low basses. And so we have a little bit more advantage as far as I've had to train it a lot because I didn't grow up singing it, but we have a greater ability to be able to riff and move our voice well. Tommy P is another great example, like a more lyric kind of bass, a higher sitting bass. All of us really, we're all like, mid-range basses. We're not like, profundos. And Tommy is exceptional at riffing. Tommy might be the best riffer I've heard in a bass voice. Like, it's amazing how that man can move his voice around. And Matt's very similar in that way. A bass voice with tons of flexibility and tons of agility. And we're getting to see all of it right here. And we're getting to hear his upper range too.
Oh, hear
E4.
the angels' voices. Oh,
F sharp again.
divine, oh, night when Christ was born.
I love how much they bring that back and how sweet they make it. And the percussion's gone right. I think Scott's probably singing the bass. I think he's been covering the bass line since the start of Pentatonix. Whenever Avi would stop, Scott would do it. Whenever Matt stops, I think Scott takes on. I think I've seen Kevin do bass line-ish stuff while he's doing perk, which he could be doing now because there's no perk happening. But say most likely Scott. Scott usually takes over the bass line. He's got a really nice lower range.
Christ was born. Oh, night divine.
So there was a suspension. That was a suspended because you want it to go Now what's interesting is he started on the F sharp and then went up into the suspension. Like the chord landed, then he went up to the G, and then we're in the suspended fourth. Super cool. Also, just a really nice belt. Again, bass voice belting all the way up to a clean high G, which is awesome. Right here. Okay. Suspension. And they leave it suspended.
Oh, night. Oh, night divine.
Okay. Awesome. I think we did just get confirmation from the video that it's Scott singing the bass line. And listen to how Matt sings this huge stuff and purely connected chest voice, right? Like very musical theater, very pop style belting. And then he flips into a head voice, oh, night, and makes it much lighter after this big belt moment. Again, big exciting thing, pull it back. Big exciting thing, pull it back. This is what Pentatonix is doing all the time in their arrangements to keep us engaged and excited and kind of on our toes.
Oh, night. Oh, night divine.
He taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace.
Mitch is truly one of my favorite voices, like, period. It's just an amazing voice. It's such a, like, he can stay in chest voice so high, but then the registration shifts are so smooth, and you can go up into this crazy high head voice falsetto like it's nothing. And it's just, it's so nice because his belting is exciting, but it also doesn't make you nervous. Usually it's kind of one or the other. Like a really exciting belt, you're going to be like, I don't know if they're going to get it or not. Mitch is like so reliable, but also so exciting in his singing.
His law is love, and his gospel is peace.
What they've both done a great job of, well, all the soloists, all three of them so far, they're within their solos, we're getting a lot of contrast. We're getting some riffing, we're getting high belting, low, nothing high for Mitch yet, right? But we're also getting a lot of color change. So it's not just one vocal color the whole time. The soloists are really adjusting with the arrangement. So when the arrangement's big, we get a big, pure, efficient, belty sound. And when the arrangement pulls back, it's a much more breathy, intimate sound. And so it really creates this kind of cohesion between all the voice parts, which is exactly what you want.
His gospel is peace.
So he ends like really breathy and intimate, right? But before in the solo, it was a little bit more belty and powerful.
And his gospel is peace. Ooh, chains shall
Yes, Kirsty.
he break for the slave, his our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease.
Nice.
Sweet hymn.
Moving bass lines, that's another element that usually comes in the second verse for Pentatonix. And that little bum 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 like bell tones happening right at the end, like a pretty cool flare. You know, I was not expecting that kind of arrangement choice before they go into the second chorus. Kirsty sounds great. She has an awesome outfit. All their outfits are great, but I think Kirsty's taking the W for the outfits in this one. My keen fashion sense tells me. And she got up pretty high in a belt, maybe up to an A4. Let's see.
Chains shall he break for the slave, his our brother, and in.
Okay, so up to a B4, so just below tenor high C, and of course she's keeping it in a fully connected chest voice, no problem.
His our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we adore.
That's crazy, that bass line there, because again, usually dum, 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 it's just going to be like sustained pitches, but instead we get a walking bass line down after the first couple notes from Matt. Also, we get a nice D2 from Matt here at the start.
Oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we adore within us. Praise his holy name.
On your knees. Oh, hear the angels' voices.
Oh my God, yes. Wow. There's a lot to... Okay, so we got some awesome high belting here. Let me go back and go. I almost just let it play out because I was very invested. There's a lot of action happening in the harmony voices here. A lot of repetition of the text, you know, in different times, different rhythms than what we get from the lead. So there's a lot happening at different times, but it all works. Pretty much as long as we have like bass line and perk together, there can be a lot of action happening in the upper voices, and it can sound complicated, but it will remain united.
We adore within us. Praise his holy name.
High B. So, okay, something really cool they do here. I know you guys feel that it's cool. I want to explain why it's cool. So we get this big belt from Mitch, and then you expect everyone else to come in. But instead, we get cascading belts coming in from the rest of the voices, and then that feels like it leads to a big moment. And then, not even then do we get the big moment, but we get Scott on a solo belt, and then they come in for the big moment with the drums and the belt and everything. So they keep like faking us out. They keep making us think that we're about to like climax, and then they're like, just kidding, and now we're gonna do it, and just kidding one more time, and now that you're like really on the edge of your seat, we're gonna hit you with everything. Super well done. I was not expecting that. All right, ready for this?
Praise his holy name.
Mitch belt. Okay? Just kidding, it's just Scott. Woo! So it's just so with the Scott one, it's just a second. It's just Scott for like a couple beats, or just one beat, and then the rest of the voices. But again, that's a fake out. It's really commonly used in electronic music, especially dubstep producers. I just went to like the biggest dubstep festival in the world. Many of you watch the channel know I produce my own electronic music. And a big thing the DJs are doing now that they didn't used to do is these big fake out drops. It's a huge build, and they act like they're going to drop the world on your head, and then they'll completely fake you out. And they might move the drop a beat later, 2 beats later, a full measure later. Maybe they'll do a fake out drop and then build it up again, and then another fake out drop and then hit you with it. It's so great. It just like throws you off and really keeps you on your toes. And so Pentatonix just did that. Big time.
Praise his holy name.
Yes. High A for Scott. Scott can also riff like crazy. And he was up to, I think, a high A there, and all that grit he puts in the sound too. I don't remember Scott doing that. So I don't know if this is like a new thing. I know he did a little bit. He would do a little bit of like the growling stuff, but that was like gritty on that high note. Harmony riff from Kirsty and Mitch. They're riffing a third apart from each other, I think. Usually wouldn't do parallel fifths, you do parallel thirds for harmonies. Well, pay attention to that. That's dope. I'll go back a little further so we can get into it. But yeah, Kirsty and Mitch. Oh my gosh, so cool. So well done. Great arrangement. And, non-standard arrangement, which is wonderful. I'm going to go back and see what I can pick out here. So what they did again after the big drum section is they pulled back, cut the drums out. Now what I was expecting is one more hit with everyone, but they don't do that. They do have all 5 voices, but they do it differently than what they've done previously. They have this almost round where someone starts it, then the next one starts it, then the next one starts it. It's not an exact round because I don't think they're singing the same thing each time. But voice comes in, voice comes in, voice comes in, voice comes in, and it's like kind of swirling. It's like swimming all around us. I was expecting here. Nope. Really great high D. Pure chest voice from Kirsty. D5. Above tenor high C. Just want to flag that. Oh, we do get drums again. We just don't get the wall of sound, like all of them singing a big belt harmony. We get this kind of, oh holy, oh holy, oh holy, while the drums come back in. So it's still, we got the biggest climax in this previous section, and now it's kind of like taking parts away, like kind of stripping it down, as of course in the beginning, the final moment where it's just Scott as a solo.
oh night divine,
And there you have it.
oh holy night.
Really great. Man, okay, well, guys, I hope this gets out in time. I might have to release this one after Christmas if need be. People like this song year-round, right? I'm going to try and get this out before Christmas. Hopefully that works out so you guys can see at least one of all the Pentatonix videos I made. And next year, mark your calendars, week leading up to Christmas will be 5 Pentatonix videos on a row. And they are meant to be done as a package. I'm talking about, on day 2, I did this. And tomorrow I'm doing this. And yada yada. So they really, without having to explain too much with like captions and then the pinned comment, I want to release them all 5 back to back to back. And what I will try to do, about to put pressure on myself, here we go. At the end of that, I will try to have an interview with one of the other members of Pentatonix lined up. So if you can wait a year for that, that is my pledge to you. 5 Pentatonix videos with an interview with one of them that's not Matt at the end. So I've just put pressure on myself. So this is my commitment. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you gained appreciation for this amazing group. Go check out my interview with Matt, which you've already seen, but it was up there somewhere. You can probably hit the little eye here. If you click that little eye, if it's there, then whatever I've recommended in this video, you can pick and choose. Like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell. Leave a comment. Any other Pentatonix you want me to do, maybe non-Christmas stuff. It's been too long, and I've really enjoyed diving back into this amazing group. And go support me on Patreon. Appreciate it, guys. All right. Love you all. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. And I'll see you in the next one.